Hi, everyone. A little pre-introduction before we start this episode. For those of you that are brand new to this channel or brand new to this show, my friend and co-host on the show, Doug Riggle, who you'll see in this episode, had passed away on October 3rd, 2024. He'd been battling stage 4 cancer for a while. This is the second of 6 episodes that we recorded before his passing. He passed away on October 3rd. And so we're in the middle of this talking in July. In this episode, you'll notice that he'll start talking about that there was a little bit of a transition that was happening with part of his diagnosis as he was going through. But still, some amazing things that came up in the conversation and having to deal with challenges as they came up. And as a matter of fact, as you'll see, Doug comes up with the title of this episode as we get towards the end of it. So thank you for being on this show. We just ask that you continue to keep Doug's family and friends in prayer as we move forward. And thanks for watching.
And in some insidious way, I have allowed a demonic spirit of doubt to take residence in my life. Like I started suddenly thinking about situations I've had regarding work stuff or career stuff or things where I'm trying to move forward. And there always seems to be this sneaking thing that comes in and says, it's not going to happen. Why did you ever think it would happen? Of course, it's not going to happen for you. You should just give up. And I had this moment that happened, Doug, where I just like any moment, it was like the Holy Spirit hit me all of a sudden. And I wrote out kind of a banishing, almost exorcism type prayer for this specific insidious spirit that has been with me, and just kind of going, you're not welcome here. Hi, welcome to I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. This is a show, and this is a project that is designed to do a couple of things. It's to help you get through storms of life with Christ's help. It's to help you deepen your relationship with God. It's to help you find and discover what your purpose is, what God's calling and purpose is for your life. My name's Kevin Gregg. I'm a creative writer, director, producer. I've dealt with a whole bunch of myriad of issues, including 10 years of sobriety, thank God, with God's help and grace. And then working through, codependent issues and control issues and victim issues and all that other stuff. But I'm doing it through prayer, fellowship, and program. That's me. Who are you?
I am Doug Riggle, and I think I'm kind of the catalyst for all this work that we've been doing for the past 3 years of telling stories about life and learning to head into trials head on, like a buffalo, and living it out now, diagnosed with cancer in 2022. And so, yeah, moving forward with the diagnosis, doing what I can do to maximize my life and leaving the rest in God's hands.
There you go. We're so glad to have you here with us. Today's episode is going to deal with some health issues for sure. We're going to talk about some health stuff with Doug. I'm going to catch some people up on some stuff that happened this last week, which is crazy. Doug, you had a checkup, all that stuff. What's going on with you? What's happening with you, brother?
So it's interesting. The cancer in my stomach area has gotten a little larger. Because of being in the stomach, they can't really measure well. So my doctors ordered an MRI for me, which I'll do August 1st to kind of look at that area as well. There's also some pain on the right-hand side by where the liver's at, and some liver numbers were kind of off. They've been up and down, up and down, up and down. So he wants to take a look at that, make sure that the splint they put in there over a year ago is still working properly. And then Wednesday, they've changed my chemo routine from every 2 weeks to now every week for 3 weeks, then off a week. And a whole new set of drugs that I'm still learning to adapt to and kind of, figure out what this means. Because 3 weeks on, 1 week off does not set me up well if I want to take a week off in between or want to go visit friends. And I've already got trips planned to Colorado, St. Louis for work, Iowa, Columbus, Ohio. But I think we can work around them.
Sure.
Provided the MRI comes back with no surprises on the first.
So
So
what,
kind of hit a tailspin on Wednesday.
yeah, I mean, is that the thing? Because you just sort of get all of this news that just kind of comes out of the blue, and it's just like kind of going, well, crap, that doesn't line up with my plans,
Right. Right.
right?
Well, and there was a new drug he was going to give me, and I went to the teaching on the drug. I have the piece of paper from my insurance company, who I will not name, that said it was approved. But then when I got there on Wednesday for my treatment, they changed their mind. So they had to pivot and put me through training for these two new drugs. And now I'm on those two new drugs. The good thing is I don't have to take a fanny pack home with me for 3 days. So
That's
no
good.
more attachments like
Yeah.
a Hoover vacuum. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
me.
yeah. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
What's your stuff that kind of, what is the main, what was the main thing that sort of caused you in that tailspin? And is there anything that helped you with pulling you out of it at all? Or are you still kind of in the middle of it?
Initially, it was just all the change. And my day job, I work with people in change. I work with companies going through change. But when it happens to you, it becomes personal. And you kind of look for where you're at on, there's a model for change called Kubler-Ross. Are you angry? Are you, upset? Are you depressed all the way down to the trough? Are you coming up out of it? And it just kind of hit me all at once. And everything had been consistent for over a year. So I'm like, it just kind of messed up my world.
Hmm.
And I just needed a lot of moments to pray and kind of figure out, all right, this is going to be a new normal. What does that look like? Because I don't know yet. But having to go to the hospital 3 weeks in a row,
Yeah, right.
I
It's
still work while I'm there, but it's like, I was hoping for something a little bit more relaxed, but not to be.
Buddy, I understand that. It's so frustrating to get just like a curveball this thrown at you. And oddly enough, especially in our human condition, it's that we seek that regular, we sort of seek that regular comfortable thing where
Yeah.
we just go, hey man, I just want to know like it's gonna be this all the time. And it's the thing that we discover so many times, whether it's an upending of a job or in some cases for people a natural disaster or something like that that happens where it just goes, yeah, you know what, things can kind of turn upside down in a heartbeat like that. And I think that that's something that's we crave normality, right? We crave that normality, and we just crave like, I just again, it's a thing that I deal with so much with control issues because I want to control the outcomes of things. I want to control.
Absolutely.
I want to control exactly how things are going to go, how people are going to respond. You know, if I do A, B, and C, then I'm going to get D, E, and F. And I learned that decades ago of like going, that doesn't happen at all that
No,
way.
not
It
at
just
all.
doesn't. And so it's really hard when it can be, and it's those moments. Even as I'm talking about it, it is trying to discover the, oh, all right, Lord, this is part of the adventure or the game or riding the surfboard, right? Of like going, oh, okay, this is cool. This is this next part of this thing. Now it's hard to reframe it that way of going, isn't this exhilarating? you know,
Yeah.
when it's things like having to go to a hospital every week.
Well, and there's a part of it too that's in the back of my mind. I'm trying not to entertain, especially with now experiencing a little pain. My liver numbers are off. Is this now the start of the downward spiral? They gave me 1 to 3 years to live. I came through the first year and a half with flying colors for the most part, but it's not predictable. You can't like say this month and this month you'll be fine. This month and this month you'll be feeling pain. This month you'll be at death's door. I don't know how this works. And because it's so rare, there's really not a lot of expertise out there, or even other people going through it. I did find a Facebook support group of people going through duodenal cancer, so that's
Yes.
been good.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
look,
only globally 800 people.
correct. So at least a little bit of outreach and introduction to other people that are on there, you know?
It helps.
Has there been a little bit of back and forth, at least with a couple of other people on there?
Yeah, a few back and forths. You get an assortment of people. Someone's on there because their spouse had it, and passed away from it, or you get people on there that their brother or sister or mother or father have it, and they were there for a while. They just never stopped, backed out of the group, or what's the word when you leave a group? They've not left the group.
Correct, right. Yeah, and social media is its own little beast, right? It's a different. Yeah, there are some people that just absolutely thrive at it, where it's like, oh, great, this is like they basically treat a social online community as if like, oh yeah, this is like a new thing where I'm getting to like show up with other people and getting to converse back and forth and we're establishing a relationship. The weird thing that happens, especially on social media, is 99% of social media partakers are usually like lurkers, right? They're usually people that just show on and just go, I'm just here to read and watch. That's
Right.
just all I do. I read and watch and I don't, I really don't go back and forth. And I'm sure that you probably have some percentage of that that's also even in your group, which is like, well, I'm glad I'm a part of this group, but I may not be I may not be part of the percentage that wants to actually, outreach and actually post. I would rather just like watch and read other people's comments,
Yeah. That's
It's
the way
like,
I am with my Calvin and Hobbes Facebook group.
oh,
I just
sure.
participate, get a new comic every couple of hours and laugh a little bit and be on my merry way.
That's it, right? I mean, there's some things that are like that. So I do hope that you find at least some success and are able to at least establish a few back and forth, relationships with some people in that group, man. Continued prayers for you as you go through this, right? I mean, it's just again, it's been a continual thing that we've talked about. Um, you're just in this moment, right?
Right.
It's like, all right, then all I've got is here and today, you know? So I'll tell you, I'll share it with you while we're on the show too. Listen, I want to make you fit because, Doug and we've been talking about what the plans are and the other stuff that we have to do. I just have to let you know, I had watched a couple of years ago Ken Burns's documentary on country music, the beginning of country music. Just to let you know that when country music was first starting and they would do all the stuff it was a gosh, my friend Chip Eston knows this, Charles Eston knows this so well. But at the Grand Old Opry, um, We Sell Millions. I think it was brought to them by WSM. We Sell Millions, and that was the insurance company that sold the stuff. So they were the ones that sponsored the Grand Old Opry every week. Well, back in that time, the only major radio broadcast that was happening was you had to do it out of the Grand Ole Opry that was in Nashville, and all of these other groups and acts and all this other stuff. What they would end up doing is they'd be there on Saturday nights for that thing, and then for the rest of the week, they put all their gear and everything into their cars and their trucks and all that other stuff, and then they drive out to their other gigs at other honky tonks and bars all over that, like all over the country. But they made sure that they just did their stuff so they could drive out as far as they could and perform, so they could make sure they could make it all the way back to the Grand Ole Opry by Saturday night. My point is, you might be getting a treatment or something like that, but doesn't mean we're not we're not throwing you on a plane
Right.
as you're trying to feel, you're trying to keep yourself together so we get you to an engagement or something like that, but get you back in time for your next treatment. So who knows? All things are possible with Christ. This is where I want to be like this is where I want to be like a multimillionaire like Bruce Wayne or something like that, or Tony Stark, and be able to go, don't worry about that, buddy. We'll get you we'll We'll get you anywhere you want to go, fast, quick. Well, there you go. As you're dealing with some of your stuff, I will tell you that some of my stuff pales with this, but we had there's a little bit of there's a tie-in that happens with this. We got our family got hit by a wave of stomach flus that happened. It happened first on and again, talk about things that happen. At the time that we're recording this, our family's getting ready to go off for we're going off for a week vacation trip to Florida. We're going to Key West, celebrate my wife's birthday, one of my son's birthday. Two of my sons are going to be scuba diving. We're going to be doing, you know, snorkeling and kayaking and all that stuff. So looking forward to it. So I've been trying to wrap up a lot of work stuff and then trying to clean up the house and get everything ready as we go. So last week, we've had a lot of stuff. We've had my mother-in-law had visited us for a few weeks, so we had been dealing with that. She's almost 92, so a lot of care issue that was happening here. So here we are trying to get ready for this, hey, let's finish up work and spend this next week cleaning up the house and getting ready to go on this big excursion. It was a late Friday night into a Saturday morning. My wife, Kate, she'd been wiped out. She went to bed super early. I'm up with my son, Duncan, with he has autism. He's 25 years old. And he's got a few little crazy things that he does. Like, he'll come in and announce that he has to go to the bathroom a lot, or just kind of go, okay, you got to go. But he and I had stayed up a little bit later on Friday night. It was about 11 o'clock, and I'm getting ready to just turn in because I know the next day I've got to do cleaning and all this stuff. And Duncan keeps coming in and announcing bathroom, bathroom, bathroom. I'm just like, what is he talking about? I send him off to bed, and then I notice that outside of our bedroom, probably about 30 feet down a hallway, that's where his bathroom and some other stuff is. And I just noticed like the light is still left on there. I'm just going, what is going on? And I get out of bed, just kind of, this kid's driving me crazy tonight. And I'll tell you, Doug, the minute that I hit my bedroom door and looked down that hallway, it looked like a crime scene. I
Oh
mean,
no.
my
Poor Duncan.
my poor son, he doesn't fully he understands the idea that if he's not feeling well, to go to the restroom and do that stuff. He doesn't understand the concept of going, oh yeah, if I have to throw up, I throw up in the toilet. He didn't do that. He went in the sink, and it was crazy. Anyway, he had the stomach flu that had happened on that Friday night. And I looked at Doug, and I'd already had a super long day that had started. We'd recorded last week, and I'd been up since about 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was like, Doug, I looked at it and I just thought, yeah, this is impossible. I just like looked at it. I've had, we've all had things like dog accidents and all this other stuff. I've had incredibly bad dog accidents. I would say the worst dog accident that we've had in our house is probably 5 times as worse as what this was. And I'm just looking at it, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just going, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. And just like, I know that Kate is out, so I'm not going to do. But anyway, thank God, man, just kind of went to it, right? Kind of within about an hour was able to sort of get everything up. We've got a fantastic carpet cleaner that was there, like did it all, got it all done. Stayed up with Duncan till about 5 o'clock in the morning because his stomach flu. That we thought at first it was some sort of a food poisoning thing or something. He'd been at a museum that day earlier and thought like he'd eaten a bad hot dog or something. But it's one of those things, like when you get it, it's like every hour you have to, the whole thing keeps it going. So stayed up with Dunk till about 4 or 5 o'clock that morning until it finally settled down for him. I think it was fine. He recuperated the next day. Scene was fine. Sunday night, you saw the pictures of it online. I go out with our friends, Pete and Dana. We went down the Hollywood Bowl to go listen to a John Williams concert that was happening of like, all of his greatest hits like Star Wars and Superman and some Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff or whatever. Very cool thing where like, people are pulling out lightsabers and all this stuff towards the end. I'm sitting there at after intermission, I'm listening to the John Williams theme for the 1984 Olympics, and as I'm sitting there, I suddenly feel a clench in my stomach and go, "What's happening right now?" Right? And
Oh,
I just like going, "What is this? What is this?" And anyway, get through the end of the concert and all this stuff. I sincerely thought like, is this gas or a bowel issue or something like that? I kind of ran ahead of them and went and I thought, okay, this must be some sort of gas or something like that. But then I had left the restroom, and as I'm walking out with Kate and our friends, I probably walk about another 10 yards, and my friend Pete is in conversation with me, and I immediately go, "Excuse me, Pete." When you're at the Hollywood Bowl is created to have a capacity. It can take in a capacity of 17,000 people. I'll say there's probably about 10,000 people there that night. So it's like coming out of like a ball game or something like that, right?
right.
And I'm weaving in and out of people. Thank God I hit that restroom. I must have sounded like the worst drunk in the world when I hit that toilet. Anyway, it turns out I had the same thing that Duncan had a couple of nights ago, and it caught up with me. So I ended up having, we got home and everything like that was, got through it. But, again, 5 hours of every hour on the hour. And then Kate ended up getting it too.
Oh,
So it just went through the whole thing. Here's the thing that I'm grateful for, that it went through the entire family before we went on this trip. I could not imagine what would have happened if we had landed in Key West and all of a sudden lost.
amen.
But here's my point, tying back in with the thing. Had all of these plans for what I was going to be doing work-wise, wrapping up stuff, cleaning up stuff, all this stuff, and all of it went right out the window, right? And I will tell you that I also got hit with waves of depression, despair. What's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, anytime I try to do something, right? That whole thing of just like anytime I try to do something, I get blindsided. Well, here's the insight that I want to share with you, Doug, that I had that I'll share with the audience. And it might relate to you and might relate to somebody else that was there. So I realized, and this sort of hit me like yesterday or the day before. I'm sitting and I was really kind of stuck in this sort of really like dark place. And I had this realization, Doug, that I have had and have allowed in some capacity and in some insidious way, I have allowed a demonic spirit of doubt to take residence in my life. Like I started suddenly like thinking about situations I've had regarding work stuff or career stuff or things where I'm trying to move forward. And there always seems to be this sneaking thing that comes in and says, it's not going to happen. Why did you ever think it would happen? Of course, it's not going to happen for you. Um, you should just give up. And usually also attached to that are feelings of envy and resentment towards other people's successes and things like that. Like it seems so easy for other people, or other people don't have to deal with the hardships I have to deal with. Despair, depression, all of those things I was talking about. And I had this moment that happened, Doug, where I just like any moment, it was like the Holy Spirit hit me all of a sudden. And I wrote out kind of a banishing, almost exorcism type prayer for this specific insidious spirit that has been with me, and just kind of going, you're not welcome here. Like I have like let you in like worm tongue in the Lord of the Rings. Sorry guys, you know what happens? My
That was
revelation.
great.
I can't believe, like I can't. So for those of you that are watching this, I don't know if you're hearing this or watching this, Apple has done this new integration of stuff that when you do certain things, I'll show you another example of it when I go like this. Let's see what will happen. There you go. Of this integration of graphics that start to go over it. I just did a thing where did a wave motion or something, and it caused fireworks to explode all around. That's funny. But it's like Lord of the Rings, like I have allowed Worm Tongue to come in like King Thorin, in that I forget where he is. I forget what part of I don't know if you know
Mhm.
off the top of your head, but you know, up there where all the horsemen are and all of that kingdom. And it's like I have allowed in Wormtongue in Tolkien's Two Towers is when you first see him. And I've invited this evil spirit in to God, boy, it keeps doing it. But I've invited this evil spirit to come in and to be talking in my ear.
Hmm.
And that I've taken it as just like, oh, you're right, you're right, you're right. And I really did have that moment where I had to do almost a banishing and almost like an exorcism type prayer, and asking for the Holy Spirit and God the Father and God the Son to banish this from my life, along with the legions of angels and the communion of saints, to just get it out of its get it out. Gosh, this is madness. We've never had this happen before on the show, and I do have to figure out how to disable it, but it's very sensitive today, right? Um,
Apparently so.
it's very sensitive today. I'll try to watch my hand gestures. Uh, but anyway, I just really had to, not only did I have to banish it, but to also invite God in to be able to say, Lord, please come in and fill it. Because as it says in scripture, you know, you can, if you can tell, you know, you can tell a demon or Satan or demonic entities to leave you, but if you're not replacing it with Christ, if you're keeping it empty of Christ, Satan will come back 7 times stronger.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's been the thing that I have to make sure that I'm praying for as well too, is that to go, oh, hold on a second, I have something that is evil and demonic that's trying to take residence here in me, that is not from God, and that I have the power and the authority to be able to tell it to go, that it's not welcome. I also have to do the following, which God is to say, well, you got it out,
Right.
but now you have to bring me in to fortify what you're going through. So that's sort of my tale of all the stuff that I've been going through, and a little bit of the insight that I had. I don't know if that inspires anything in you or triggers anything in you or not.
It's really it's encouraging because I know to go to God in prayer. That's in some respects the easy thing to do. Although I always forget to do it, in a lot of situations. But it's not just going to God in prayer, but taking captive strongholds. And I've been working on taking every thought captive this past couple of weeks because it just kind of concerned me, like things that would pass through my brain, and I would just let them pass. Like, no, that doesn't need to be there. I need to take every thought captive and submit it to the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's how I'm going to improve,
Yeah.
and not just ignore it like I would have in the past.
What's interesting, you know what? Even as you say that, it almost has like sort of a defense type of mechanism in it, or like a missile defense mechanism that's in it. Like as you said, it's like, well, these things come in and then they go in and out. But it's almost like you're training. It's almost like you're training specific guns or whatever to go, hey, when this type of thing comes in, when the minute you see something like that, you instantly obliterate it, right? So it doesn't even get the opportunity to come in. It's almost like, oh, I recognize you for what you ate, right?
Right.
Get rid of it.
Iron Dome.
I'm serious. It really is. It is like an iron dome for your soul and your heart and your mind,
Absolutely.
you
Yep.
know, to kind of go. I think that's probably it's probably a great title for this show, creating an iron dome for your soul, heart, and mind, right?
There we
Um,
go.
because you have to, because the enemy is continually looking for any way to attack you. And the stuff that you've seen happen with you, you know, this last week of like going, hey, we're going to change it up, you know, and not to say that that's not a part of what this adventure is that we're on, right? I think it's a difference between a couple of things. God allows certain things to happen in our life, right? Where it's like,
Yep.
hey, guess what? Life is full of unexpected changes, and I need you to be able to adapt and shift and change, because that's part of my overall plan for creating and strengthening and refining your character, Doug. Or it's the other thing, which is also Satan. Satan also knows, like, I know, something that's going to make him really feel like he doesn't have anything firm underneath his feet, you know, and you
Yeah.
suddenly pull the rug out from underneath you. Um, but it is, we have to be ever on guard, right? It's all of that stuff. It's all Romans, right? With all the armor of God and all that stuff, right? Which is like to go, hey, we're supposed to be an active participant in this, of always being on watch, because we have an enemy that is relentless. We have
Right.
an enemy that already knows that it is going to lose. And it is going to do everything that it can to prolong and you know, stretch this thing out as long as it can. But, the quicker that we can go, we're fighting this back.
It's funny. There's a scene in a movie that always comes to mind when I think about these things. It's from Poltergeist back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the little actress who's only like so tall, she's puts out a warning. It's like, don't, how does she say it? Something like, don't give in to the fear. It knows what scares you already. Don't give it any help.
Yeah.
And like too often I've probably given in to the fear or given it help rather than vanquishing it from my life.
That's it. That is it. She would the actress that play that, I think that her name was Zelda, and the reason I say that is that we had a neighbor of mine, Dave Rosenbaum, who he's now I forget if he's up in Toronto now, or whatever, but he moved from living next door to us. He was a fantastic neighbor that we had, but he was friends with her. He was friends with her and met her several things. And the reason that he first moved was he'd meet with her all the time. She was a small person. She had that southern accent to her.
Yeah.
And Dave was in a place where he was kind of going, I don't know, because he was working in Santa Monica at the time, but he was living in the valley, and it was quite a commute from where he was doing. And she once told him they would have like these little coffee dates or dinners and all that stuff. And she said, Dave, you need to move where you would love to be spending your weekends. And he was down at the time. At that time, he loved going down towards Santa Monica Pier. And there were some new apartments that just opened. He says, I love being down here every weekend. And sure enough, he ended up getting a really nice apartment that was right there at the beach. But I remember him telling that, Dave, you move where you want to spend your weekends.
Zelda Rubinstein.
That's
Good
it.
memory.
Yeah. Yeah. Zelda was her first name. I remember that. But just that whole thing of just like, can't focus on that darkness, man.
Right.
Can't. And it is an active, we must be active participants in fighting it. So I guess that's sort of the thing for, I think it's the thing for both of us to walk away from with this conversation, is that, like, we got to be on guard, because the enemy is coming in whatever way that he can to try and throw us off it, and got to put up. Any closing thoughts as we end this episode, my friend?
Nothing edifying. I just thought you could now blow it away with fireworks.
I wish I could taste the rainbow. I wish I could. I wish it just doesn't do it when I need it to do it, right?
Oh.
It's so weird. I have no idea what that is. I'd have to go back and check out what all those little triggers are. Well, there you go. Well, listen, thank you everybody for watching this episode. The way that Doug and I get to this is obviously with anything else, which you heard me doing, is talking about writing out prayers as well. But all of it's about writing, investigating. Please, we have tools available for you at I'dRatherBeABuffalo.com that can help you with writing. We've got our 1 month Buffalo journal. We have our Buffalo Discovery Journal that's on its way. We want to help you with this. And when you spend that time putting pen to paper and really doing the deep work, it helps. It moves and changes the needle in your life. So please go over to I'dRatherBeABuffalo.com and see the writing resources that we have there. Please take advantage of them. And also follow us over on Instagram at I'dRatherBeABuffalo.com for our up-to-date posts of what's going on with us as we make announcements with material and offerings and other things like that to help you throughout your week. Thanks for being here. We truly appreciate it. And we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.